afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to Fantasy Turf War, the show where 64 teams go head-to-head to see who's the ultimate champion. We got another interview for you today. Happy Tuesday. I hope you find yourself thriving this week and you're doing well. And today we've got a special one for me. We're interviewing DJ Hall, or Don Hall. He's a buddy of mine. I was stationed with him, had the pleasure of serving the Air Force with him in Las Vegas. And, we seem to pick up where we always left off, and we talk about his military service and some of the things he did there, and then we talk about his comic book career and how he's a comic book artist and an artist, and some of the things he works on, some of his passions and motivations, and some of his upcoming projects, which I'm pretty excited to see, and we'll be keeping up with him throughout the season. He's got a book coming out in I believe the fall, so we'll have to have him back when it's time for that. But Hall's an awesome guy, despite his fandom of Broncos. Don't understand it, and I'm happy that he was able to join us in the league, and I think you guys would really like him, especially his artwork. If you are a fan of anything Marvel, DC, Disney, you name it, he's doing art on it, and I happen to own several of them, so I'll make sure to represent those, and check him out at his website, and we'll put all those links in the show notes and all that stuff. But I think you'll enjoy this one, and here you go, DJ Hall. Good morning, DJ. How you doing today?
Doing good. How are you?
I'm good, and I'm just going to clear the air because it's we keep giggling, and I keep losing my composure because I'm so used to calling you Hall from our time in the service together, but it is DJ, and I will do my best to stick to that, but I apologize in advance if I just kind of default to
No worries.
So
if it's easy for you, you can call me that. That's cool.
Yeah. Well, I think for both of us that time's kind of come and gone, so it's only appropriate that I try and stick to what we're doing now. So I wanted to first thank you for participating in Fantasy Turf War and joining us in Season 1, and you were one of the early teams to adopt into this idea, and so I really thank you for kind of joining us on this journey and trying to wrap your head around this crazy idea of a 64-team fantasy football league and what the heck that meant. But glad to have you, and welcome to the league, sir.
Cool. Thanks for having me, man. Yeah, I'm excited to be a part of it.
Yeah. So with these interviews, we always like to focus on people's personal and professional background. So I'll help with this first bit in that you and I go, I would say way back, but I don't want to date myself. But you and I were stationed in the Air Force together in Las Vegas, and we spent several years together, lots of good times as we reminisced a little bit before we started recording. We had grills and cookouts and staring at things in the sky and haunted houses and good times. It was a lot of fun, and definitely when I look back at my career, those were the highlights for me. And I miss that piece of it, the culture and the team and the morale and the camaraderie piece, probably more than anything else. And you were definitely part of that. So I'm glad we can kind of circle back, and we've stayed in touch. But I'm glad to have you in the league, and we can continue to work together. So tell us a little bit about your background and career, and kind of how we came to be today as an artist.
Yeah, so as you know, I was in the Air Force. I did 6 years in the Air Force and separated back in 2017. And up until about 2 months ago, I was still working for the Air Force as a civilian. And I did that for about 3 years. But towards the end of my enlistment, I went to my first Comic-Con out in Las Vegas, actually, and going around seeing the celebrities and the artists and cosplayers and stuff, I thought it was cool. I'd never been to a Comic-Con, and seeing some of the artists, I don't know, I used to draw all the time, and I still did a little bit, but I was like, I remember telling Jonathan that I was like, dude, I want to do this when I get out of the Air Force, if I can. I don't know how, I want to do it. And so I went and bought like a set of cheap markers, and I started drawing my last year in the Air Force, like on those night shifts when it was slow. I would sit there and draw at the desk, and then I got out and moved back to Texas in 2017, and I was going to school for architecture at the time. because I wanted to kind of do something art related. But um, I in my spare time I just started drawing, and I was drawing every night. I would come home from class, finish homework or whatever, and I would just draw. And I realized architecture wasn't what I thought it was going to be, and I knew I wanted to do something with art. And around that time, we ended up moving to Austin, and down there I met, just by chance, I walked into a comic store and showed them some of my art, and they had actually they do Comic Cons, and they asked if I wanted to join them, and so I did my first Comic Con show in 2018. But in between there, from like 2016 to 2018, I was pretty much drawing every day, hours and hours, and trying to figure out what I wanted to do with it. And after my first few shows, I was kind of hooked on it, and I met more and more people, and I did my first published cover, I think around 20, I think it was like 2020, 2019. And that's pretty much it. The rest is kind of history. I just kind of kept with it. Like I said, I was working as a civilian for the Air Force, in the Space Force up until a couple months ago. And I'm kind of transitioning right now, trying to do this full time. So mainly do comic art currently, but I do other stuff. I do logos. I've done some album cover designs for smaller bands, and I'm working on writing. I do a lot of writing now, and just a bunch of other like secret projects and stuff I'm working on. But I guess the big thing right now is comics.
Yeah, and I remember vaguely from our time together in Vegas that you were pursuing art pretty heavily, in that like it was at least going to be a side gig for you, and you've clearly got talent, as people will see when they go check out your stuff. I own obviously several pieces of your stuff, whether they're prints. I think I have one original. I'll have to go check. But
you got the Mandalorian, I think.
I do. Yeah, I was gonna say I have the Mandalorian.
Yeah,
So,
I still get compliments on that one. Like, that's one of my biggest sellers. I still have a few prints of that. I'm not making any more of that one, but I still get compliments every time. They're like, "Is the original available?" I was like, "No, I sold that to a big Star Wars guy I know, from the Air Force."
So that's right. I got it. Can't have it. Although, probably eBay it at this point. Maybe I could sell it for a premium. When you really make it big, So you alluded to, you don't just do comic book art, which is awesome. Although that is very talented, and I wish I had the budget to just buy everything. But you are also the creator of the logo for our parent company, Tron. So you actually did the design on that, and then we kind of digitized it in a way that we can like scale it and all that stuff. But you actually created our Tron logo, so thank you for that. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Makes for
I'm glad you like it, man.
Yeah, and it's really stuck. The idea of what you did with the O, it's cool. We love it. We appreciate it, and we're just happy to rep that as much as we can.
Yeah, you're welcome, dude.
As soon as I can put it on
I'm glad you. Yeah, have a whole merch line.
Yeah, eventually. I don't know if anyone's gonna buy it. I'll buy it, but I don't know if anyone else will. But yeah, so you're doing the comic book thing. You've got several projects you're working on right now, right? But I know you said you can't talk about too many of them. But the gist of it is that they're covers for different kind of publications.
Yeah, I do a lot of like independent comic books. So anyone that's not familiar with comic books, I'm sure they've heard of Marvel and DC. That's kind of the two big companies. Image Comics is also a big company. That's kind of the big three. And I've done one cover for Image. It was an exclusive cover, but it was for a big book called Stray Dogs. And it actually won like Comic of the Year, Independent Comic of the Year, or something like that. I can't remember the award name, but it was a super cool book. They're actually making a movie. Paramount picked it up or optioned it or whatever they call it for a movie. So I mainly started doing covers, and then I started dabbling into doing some of the interior artwork on the books, usually on like splash pages. So it would just be like a one page that I would draw, like one image for inside the book. And then my first shot at like actually drawing a full book from cover to cover was some of the guys that I had worked with down in Texas, Fort Worth area, part of Charter Comics. They met the original Red Ranger from the Power Rangers, Austin St. John, and he had this cool idea for a book, and he had like animation Like he had like cartoons planned, I guess, and all kinds of stuff, movies. But he wanted to start with comics, and I guess he said like he had talked to the big companies, and they just wanted a lot of money from him, and they seemed to care more about the money than the story and the art and stuff. And so just by chance, they kind of met at a bar at a Comic Con, at one of the after parties or something. Which I wasn't there. I was here in Colorado, but they reached out to me and asked if I wanted to try to draw the interiors. So it was a pretty cool story because it's based around military, but it's kind of like a zombie type story. But there's also a lot of Easter eggs for Power Rangers fans in there. If you're familiar with any of that stuff, like some of the original cast and stuff like that. So it was kind of cool working for that to be my first like interior art project. It was kind of cool to work with someone I grew up watching on TV.
Yeah.
And since then, as far as interior art, I've done a few pages. I'm sticking more to covers because I'm working on my own books right now, which I'm going to draw. And it's time consuming trying to write, draw. I'm doing pretty much every step of the process. But I am doing a small project right now with a group of friends. I guess I can talk about it now because they've been posting about it. But it's if you ever watched the original like Trimmers movies with like Kevin Bacon, yeah, they're this guy I know. He's I don't know exactly who he's working with. He hasn't told me, but I think it's some of like the directors from some of those films and stuff. And the initial plan was to do a bunch of short stories for Trimmers from fans of Trimmers for fans. And I wrote this story about this prehistoric Trimmers story that I thought was kind of cool because we weren't supposed to use any of the actors and stuff, of course. And so I came up with a story. Well, then I guess they showed them some of the stories and stuff, and the whoever he's working with, they said you can use the actors. Like we'd like to see the actors in it. So the short stories were supposed to be like around 6 pages. It was hard for me to write a short story, especially something like Trimmers, because the original Trimmers film is one of my favorite kind of monster movies, and so I cut mine down to 9 pages, and I got that approved. So I wrote the story, and I'm working on that right now. And they're doing 2 books. It'll be in the second issue of that. It'll be a 9-page short story, but I have all the original cast in there. So I'm drawing Kevin Bacon, Reba McEntire, and stuff like that. So it'll be cool to see if it goes anywhere. But it's kind of cool to kind of have like a small part in something again I grew up watching. So just trying to meet people and stuff. I'm hoping to new opportunities and stuff.
Yeah. Do you have any idea when that's publication? Is it late 24, 25, 26?
So the book 1 they've already printed that like recently. That show I missed in Dallas, we were all supposed to kind of have a meeting about that as well. But like I said, I didn't make that show. All right, we were talking about it before, but I didn't make that show in Dallas because I was sick. And they did have book 1 done and completed, and it was already printed. And so I think what they're doing, they're not going to do like a Kickstarter launch or anything like that. They're going to do I think they're gonna give a few away. They have a thing called Trimmers Fest in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and it was supposed to be in July, but they moved it to October. So I think by October timeframe, in the middle of October, I think both books will be done, complete, and they're going to give some away to the fans, and then we're obviously going to sell some. Yeah, I think the guy that plays Bert, and he's pretty much in every movie. And there's like 7 movies. I think he's like seen some of the artwork and stuff. So it's pretty cool. I'm excited to get my story out there for that.
Yeah,
but it's a slow process again.
Well, yeah, but it's always worth it, right? Because you don't want to rush any sort of process. You want it to be quality, especially if it's a passion project for something that you grew up watching and it's one of your favorites. You want to do it justice, so it should take a little bit of time. We'll say October-ish then. So we should be able to have you back on the show on one of the weeklies or on the Sunday show, and showcase it off and get the word out there so that people can find it and buy it and bug you for signatures. Although I have an original Don Hall, so you know, we'll have to bring you back in to make sure that gets some eyeballs added to it. So that'd be cool.
Yeah, for sure, man, for sure.
Yeah. So on top of that, you're also doing like Comic Cons, like you said, and I've seen dozens of posts of happy families with their stuff, and you've got everything from DC, Marvel, lots of Spider-Man, lots of Batman. I saw a Pegasus from Hercules, the animated Disney movie. That one's pretty cool. What's like your passion? I know we had some favorite things that we kind of shared when we were in the military, but like what's your go-to if you've got to make covers? Like what's your favorite thing to work on?
So for the independent covers, I do a lot of like kind of creepy stuff, honestly, with Charter Comics because that's kind of their thing is creepy stories. Um, they have a character called Ferryman, which is kind of like a death type character. So I've done, I don't know, 3 or 4 pieces for them, and I just finished a cover that they're about to announce for their new book, and then they just finished another story that's launching early 2025, and I'm going to be doing a cover on that. But as far as like fan art and stuff, by far I love drawing like Spider-Man and stuff like that. Anything from the Spider-Verse, that's kind of my go-to, like warm-up sketches. If you go through my portfolio, I have a bunch of like random sketches, and they're usually Spider-Man. My daughter's like Spider-Man, so it's just kind of my go-to character. That's kind of my holy grail cover is to do a Spider-Man cover someday for Marvel.
Cool.
Yeah, I don't know. I like doing anything from like realism drawing, which I haven't done as much lately because I'm trying to find my style right now. And I really enjoy drawing like animation, cartoony, like that type of artwork, like that Pegasus you were talking about, some of that Disney style art. It's really fun to draw and it's easy, more relaxing, I guess. That's why I like drawing on those blank sketch covers because there's so many out there. Then I want to draw something creepy. I just grab one of those, draw it, and people love them. So
Very cool. Yeah, I came across the other day. When you're just randomly sitting there. I'm not going to say it was on the toilet, but let's just say I was just sitting somewhere for a while, just scrolling through my phone, and it came across the Green Goblin one, and I was like, all right, there's a new fear unlocked. Definitely in the realm of creepy, and not creepy in Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man Green Goblin kind of way, but it was genuinely creepy as a goblin. So that was cool. I think it posted like new fear unlocked. So yeah, it's good stuff.
yeah,
But
thanks, man.
yeah. All right, so let's shift gears a little bit and let's talk football. I've known this for a while, and I still don't understand why. But you are a Denver Broncos fan, and I'm assuming it's just because you live in Colorado. But what's the story there? Have you just been a lifelong Broncos guy?
No, so I grew up in Texas, and my whole family loved the Dallas Cowboys, and I used to watch football with my dad when he was alive, and that was he was a Cowboys fan, but he also watched the Broncos. And so when the Broncos were good in the '90s, I was watching that. That was some of my first football like experience was watching the Broncos over the Cowboys. Actually, then we watched the Cowboys. Obviously, I grew up kind of a Cowboys fan, but I didn't really care that much, and I got tired of Tony Romo and Jerry Jones, and I there was a playoff game where Tony Romo like fumbled the field goal and he tried to run in this. I think it was against Seahawks, and they tackled him. Anyways, I was like, I'm done. I'm done. And the Houston Texans, ever since they came in the league in like 2002, I think, I always thought it was cool because there was another Texas team, and I always said if I left the Cowboys, I would pull for the Texans. So I watched the Texans for a few years. They had some of my favorite players. Some of the players I would follow in college went to Houston, and so I watched, and it was kind of the same thing. Just watching them, like J.J. Watt left, DeAndre Hopkins left. They both went to Arizona. They had a new receiver. They came up from Notre Dame, and he was there, and he was really good. Complimented Hopkins, and then they got rid of him. I think he went to Miami or something, and I was just like, I don't know. I kind of got bored with the Texans, and I was like, I don't know. I felt like I was a guy without a team, and I couldn't. The Texans had opportunities to pull in players and coaches, and then none of the moves made sense. And then they got Deshaun Watson, so that was exciting until he got in trouble with his little scandal. And then he went to Cleveland or wherever, and I was like, I'm done, man. And so when I got this job up in Texas 3 years ago, or up in Colorado, I came up here and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to be. So also when I was a kid, I watched the Rockies, and I had some Rockies gear, Colorado Rockies, and the Rockies are horrible. But I was like, I did watch the Broncos. I used to have Terrell Davis posters, John Elway posters in my bedroom when I was a kid. So it's not like I was a complete just jump on. I guess you can't call it a bandwagon if they suck, but I was like, I'll pull for the Broncos. So I've been watching the Broncos ever the past 3.5 years.
Okay.
It's been a disaster, but it is what it is. But yeah, I would say I'm a Broncos fan.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't have any gripes against the Broncos growing up. When I was learning about what football was and watching their first games, I was a fan of John Elway. Big quarterback days with Elway, Aikman, Favre, Brady, even then. So I definitely liked John Elway of the bunch, especially when they were playing the Packers, because being from Chicago, I hate the Packers. It was a good team. I think I've just locked into the Raiders and said it's just easier as a Cubs fan to just settle in for the long haul and expect it to be another 108 years kind of thing. And if we get back, we get back. If not, it's all right. Yeah, so it's cool. And there's always something about rooting for your home team, right? Because you live out that way. If you're going to go to a game, you're more likely to go see a game that's closest to you. So Broncos are there, and wearing non-Broncos gear to a Broncos game is probably not the best move, but
Yeah.
it's a fun time either way. Okay, so I saw on your application, and this actually goes back to our military days too, but you actually have 10 years of playing fantasy football. How many? And I'm sorry, in asking that question, we try and be courteous to folks because the averages are never nice. But in the 10 years, how many leagues do you think you've won?
I haven't won any. I've always been close. I've made the championship game or whatever a few times. I've been in like the final four or whatever you want to call it a few times. I've never won.
Okay.
I always my players choke. They don't do good in the last weeks or whatever for whatever reason. So if I can win this one, it'll be huge because it'll be my first straight out like win, but it'll be for this giant league. So
yeah, that'd be a good.
I don't know. I feel like it's my time. I'm due.
Yeah.
I'm due.
Look, I said the Cubs 108 years, one out of every 108. So you've got to have better odds than that. So
I watch a lot of college football. NFL. I still watch the NFL as well. Since moving up here, I got more into hockey, but I'm pretty in tune with the players and coaches and what's going on. Like I still follow it. I wouldn't say I'm as crazy as I was 10 years ago because I'm focused on other stuff, but I still kind of know what's going on. So I'm hoping with 64 teams that I can make some good moves and make it to the end, be one of the first teams to join up, and then be one of the last teams, hopefully there at the end.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. And I don't know if you remember this, but this whole giant fantasy football thing and like a social aspect of fantasy football, looking back, it may have started when we were stationed together in Vegas, because we tried to do this as a booster club event, and the legal team at the Air Force said, by no means possible. And they give like this whole list of things to our commander at the time as to why we couldn't do it, and so we didn't do it on the side anyway. But yeah, I was just looking back at that, and I was like, oh yeah, because you had the same team name for that league that you do this year, and I'll let you tell the audience at home like, what your team name is this year.
I'm going with Jive Turkeys. That's I've had that name. I've used it in one. I usually play like 2 or 3 leagues a year, but every year one of my leagues they're the Jive Turkeys for sure. So I feel like it was fitting to go with that for this league.
Yep, I like it, and like I said, it was the one you used back then, and it's cool to see it come back too. So I like it a lot. And it 10 years, it's quite a bit of experience. It's right in the middle of the rest of the league in terms of where they're at in experience. So I think you've got just as much chance as everyone else. And I had to stop telling people I wish them the best and like wish they'd win, because I started to realize I can't say that 64 times or I'm going to have a problem. And
Yeah,
so now I'm like, oh, hopefully you get top 8 of 64. And I was like, I don't know, like hopefully people do good, but it's a 16 team division. You have no idea where things are going to end up, so you just got to try, and a lot of it's luck. So, but all right,
yeah, it's gonna be crazy. I'm excited for fantasy football. The past couple of years, I did one at work. It was kind of the same thing. We were civilians, but with the military aspect, some people were like, I don't know, I don't want to be a part of it. But we had a couple leagues the past 2 years, and I almost won both times, but they were smaller leagues, and the biggest league I've ever played in, I think, was 12 teams, and
okay.
that was also the most fun I had too, because when you're playing with smaller leagues and every team's stacked, then it's just I don't know.
Yeah,
But 64 teams is going to get nuts, so it's going to be a lot of fun.
yep, yeah, I agree. Yeah, there's some star power. I think 12's that sweet spot. I think 10 is just every team's an all-star team. 14, 16, you start thinning the herd. The 12 team, I think, is that sweet spot of leagues. But with Fantasy Turf War, we've got to expand it out. So 16 team divisions is about right. Maybe we'll adjust, but this actually, I think we've been doing this particular league at least 5 years now. I think it's 7. So we know it works, but we'll see how it goes on the social side. We might scale it down next year, but really just depends how this goes and kind of what becomes of the year. Hopefully, get some live draft parties next year, so that'd be cool.
That would be cool. Yeah. Let's go to Vegas. Vegas draft party at Vegas.
Yeah, I haven't done their interview yet, but one of the teams in the league does like high-end draft parties, and we were trying to get it together, but so many different moving parts trying to get the show off the ground, and we just weren't able to pull it together. But that's it's on the menu for next year. Is like some live draft parties, and that'd be cool. At least one. I got to get at least one. You can do that. Yeah. It'll be great. So, all right, let's kick it into overtime. So what we do on the show is we ask all the teams the same 3 questions. You have no idea what's coming. No preparation, no study guides, no math. So you're good there. I know us. We were airfield managers, so math is not fun for us anymore. They took the fun right out of that. And so, yeah, 3 questions. Everyone gets the same, and it's just meant to see how you play with it. And I think this first question will be appropriate, given our history together. And so, question number 1: do you believe in aliens?
I believe. So that's
for reasons that no one will ever know. So
yeah. So yeah, I could talk about this for hours. But yeah, I guess if I had to yes or no, I'd say yes, but I don't necessarily believe that they're like aliens from Mars, that type of thing, like another planet close by. I think it's more like an interdimensional thing. But I've seen stuff, I've researched that heavily for years, and ever since like 2009, because I've seen UFOs, and I used to not talk about it that much because I would get laughed at. But now it's kind of more open or easier to talk about it, I guess, to be more open about it. And but yeah, I believe there's something. I don't know what it is, but there's definitely something.
Yeah, and you were one of the first teams to sign up, and I swear on, well, I don't want to swear on anyone's life, but I promise I did not make that question intentionally. I literally chat GPT'd it. So it came up, and then you were in the league, and we also have Christina Gomez, who's a UFO researcher
Mm-hmm.
in the league. I was like, oh, that's appropriate. Like, it totally fits. And then I knew when this time was going to come about the interview questions, I was like, I wonder what your actual answer is going to be. But, like, we'll put the tinfoil hats on for a minute. A lot of the
Yeah.
teams agree that there's got to be statistical something out there, right? And I know we've talked a little bit about the subject, but our stances on it are pretty obvious, and it's always interesting because we'd be sitting in Vegas at night, and hey, the hell's that? And yeah, some good times there. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I was cracking up when I knew I was going to have to ask you that question. So, all right, question number 2. What is the most unusual item in your office, and what is the story behind it? And that can be a usual, unique, cool, creepy.
I just moved it out because I'm rearranging my office, but I'm looking around here. I have a bunch talking about aliens and UFOs and stuff. I have a bunch of that stuff here. And do you know who Bob Lazar is?
Of course.
So he's controversial. Like some people believe him, some people think he's a fraud. Whatever. It doesn't matter to me. But I have a signed drawing from him where he was describing the UFO. I think it's in my basement right now because I moved a bunch of stuff out of my office down in the basement. I'll send you a picture of it. I don't know if
Yeah.
I've ever showed you that.
No,
But
I'd
yeah,
love to see it.
there was a documentary he did on Netflix. It was Netflix initially. It was called like Bob Lazar, Area 51 and Flying Saucers or something like that.
Was it?
But it's actually a pretty good documentary. It's Jeremy Corbell's
Yeah.
documentary.
There you go. Yeah, I was gonna say, is it his? So,
Yeah, he. So in that documentary, they're setting at like a dining table or a kitchen table or something or the bar, and he draws what he calls like the sport model with a Sharpie on a piece of paper. And after the documentary, I guess people were requesting like, can I get a print of that or like a copy? And so he has his website for his company, and he would sell them on there in the store for like $20 at the time, and they were limited. Um, so I got lucky to get one,
nice.
but it was just basically a copy from the sketch from that Netflix documentary. It was signed $20, so I have it, and it's pretty big. It's like an 18 by 24
Nice.
drawing. So I have a bunch of UFO stuff in here that's probably pretty weird to people. Um, Another thing I have is I went to an estate sale a couple months ago, and the guy that had passed away was actually he worked for NASA and SETI, the search for extraterrestrial.
Intelligence.
Yeah, yeah. So he had a bunch of like paperwork and documents and VHS tapes, and so I like cleaned them out of everything. I haven't gone through them yet, but I just have a stack of like stuff from his history. He worked at NASA. He was like a bioengineer, and he was in the Air Force as well. I'm trying to remember his
Lock that up.
name.
Hide it. Don't.
Yeah.
Go archive it.
So
Make
yeah,
copies.
I went through all of his stuff. I was at the estate sale. I just bought a few items, right? A stack of paperwork and some stuff. Some of the stuff they wanted too much money for it, so I was taking like mental notes of it. Um, but yeah, I could have spent hours there. That dude was fascinating. I don't know like much about him except he was at NASA and Air Force. But yeah. Anyways, yeah, I have like this little small collection of like alien, UFO, Air Force type stuff that's in my office. Everything else is like comic art or like video game stuff. But
Cool.
I would say that's the weirdest thing I have in here.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So I think weird is relative, right? So like, if you can tell my background, I've got alien stuff all over the place too. So we're in good company there. But yeah, my friends right there, peace and quiet. But yeah, it's good times. But yeah, that's cool. I've got to see that Lazard picture. Do you believe Bob Lazar is the real question?
So there's people I listen to that don't believe him because of his college. Because it showed like he didn't go to school at these schools he said he went to, and he wasn't at Los Alamos in New Mexico. But they found his name in a phone book there. So, and when they took George Knapp from Vegas, when they went out to Los Alamos, he gave him a tour, and they said he just knew where he was going. Like he was just walking through the facility like he had been there before. And then on top of that, when they finally found his name in the phone book, I thought that kind of proved that. As far as the school and stuff, I don't know. Like the government can do things, you know. So, I mean, I don't think it's that hard to like erase a guy's school history to disprove him and to make him seem crazy or like a liar or fraud. But a lot of stuff that he has talked about since the early 90s or whatever has been proven true. Like even the element that he talked about was proven true in like 2013. So I would say I lean more towards believing him, but I don't believe anybody when it comes to this topic fully, because I think when somebody says they know everything, then that's like a red flag to me.
Yep.
So, like I said, I could talk about this for hours. I've researched this for so many years, and
maybe we should. I think we tossed around that idea. Maybe we should, but we'll have to circle back. So I think you and I can go for hours about this, and I think we're well versed. Personally, I think I'm the same way. I believe him. I believe more than I don't believe of his. There's only one person that I just flat out don't believe, and it's not really worth saying, I guess. But there's only one person out there in kind of that world that I don't believe. But everyone else, I think there's kernels of truth, and I think, just on a personal thing, like I believe in transparency, and like if there is some information to be had, even if it's like a nothing burger, people should be like given that information and let us sort that out appropriately. But like should not be kept by a couple people. So. Like I said,
maybe we can have a side discussion, because I can get pretty deep into this stuff. That's why I was excited when I saw you had Christina join. I'd never heard of her before. You know, I watch a lot of people that have podcasts and stuff. I'm trying to start my own, actually, but she, like shortly after you told me about her and that she had joined the league, I went to her YouTube channel. Excuse me, and she was interviewing the guys from the Skinwalker Ranch TV show.
Yep.
So I thought that was cool. I was like, that's cool, because a buddy of mine who's also into this a lot, the first weird thing that I saw in the sky back in 2008, he was with me. And so ever since then, him and I have been like both into it. And so we watch all those shows. A lot of the stuff I see on TV, like History Channel or whatever, I take with a grain of salt. I don't think a lot of it's dramatized, but the Skinwalker place is fascinating to me, especially how much the military has investigated it and stuff like that. So I thought that was cool. I think it's more and more, I don't know, it's easier to talk about it than it was just like 10 years ago. But yeah, we keep circling back to that. But yeah, we'll have to have a side discussion sometime, maybe another interview.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, I think we can do that. All right, and last question. If you had 30 seconds of the world's attention and you could give them one message, what would your message be?
I would say that don't be an asshole. I don't know can I cuss?
You already did, so go for it.
Okay. You can cut it out, I guess, maybe. I don't know, man. Everybody has opinions about how everything should be, but we're all trying to live here together, and everybody's living life for the first time. So, give people some, I don't know, like we got to stop the bickering, whether it's political or certain issues. and people just need to start coming together more on stuff. Nobody's going to agree on everything. You and I probably don't agree on everything.
Yeah, I mean, you're a Broncos fan.
But yeah, but it's like I don't know. I feel like that's lost, and social media hasn't helped it. And I feel like a lot of people now are so quick to judge and to completely discount like somebody based on one view, when that's not the whole person. So I'd say just don't be an asshole, and just be nice. Be nice to everybody.
I like it.
Everybody can be friends.
Yeah. Yeah, well, even then, you don't necessarily have to be best friends, and like you said, you're gonna have disagreements. That's why that's the great thing about us, right? Is that we can have disagreements. It's just, you don't have to, hate someone's existence just because of that, and that's something. Yeah, I think most of the league has said something similar, and I think I totally agree that just don't be an asshole. Like, if anything else in life, just follow that, and it's probably going to be just fine. So I think it's good words for the world. Don't be an asshole. I think someone actually told us that in a briefing once, but I don't know. But
probably. That sounds like a military thing.
That or don't fail your PT test, one of the two. But yeah, it sounds like the only things I remember. But yeah. Oh, yeah, we can go on and on about military days. But all right, so let's wrap it up there. DJ, it's been awesome having you. It's always great reminiscing. I love keeping in touch with the people that I served with. I don't know if I've ever formally told you, but thank you for your service, and I say that with all sincerity, and I know what that means. And I know it's a little bit of a cliche sometimes when we hear it, but I truly understand what that means for you and your family, and my family, and my family and I. Thank you for that. So, you're one of a couple vets in the league, and I wanted to make sure that if I hadn't said it in our time together, I wanted to make sure I got a chance to say it now. So, I appreciate everything you've done.
Man.
And I look forward to having you in the league. It should be pretty fun, and hopefully you can pull out at least a top 8 and maybe a win. So I think
I'm going for the win. I'm going for the win.
Sounds.
I'm not here for a top 8. I'm here to win. So
yeah, that's good. That's good. And when it comes to some of your artwork and stuff, we talked on the side, and I think if it's okay, I'd like to. We can cut this out if I have to, but I'd like to kind of announce that. We're going to be purchasing a few of your covers, and we are going to be giving them away after this airs as part of one of our contests. And so they too can own some Don Hall prints and covers and some of your artwork. So it's just going to be me. I'm just going to enter like 1,000 times and just get that Pegasus covered. But yeah. So we're gonna do that. We're gonna set that up and get a few out there so that we can spread the word, spread the wealth, and then we'll have you back in October for your Tremors book, and so we can get some eyeballs onto that, and then we'll keep up with you in the league. But it has been awesome, great conversation, and a pleasure catching up with you. And I'm sure we'll be talking aliens in the very near future. So I look forward to it, man. But it's always been great, and I will talk to you later.
Cool. Thanks, man. Have a good day.
You too. See ya.